Okay, so for the third week in a row, I took Red Dragon Archfiend. First week, top 8. Second week, top 8. Third week, top 4. There's a few differences with all three variants because the first one was Bestials. And although that was the initial obvious version to try out because Dark Dragons, like they must have synergy, right? But from what I noticed was the Bestials don't really have that much synergy unless they resolve. Seeing how prevalent tier will be, we're not too sure. Maybe the locus is very diverse, so I didn't really get that much value off of the Bestials effect. Like it's a hit or miss most of the time. So I wanted to avoid that inconsistency, so I ended up just cutting them for the second week. And the second week was more of a purist build. The main core, prosperity, cross out, and hand traps to ensure that your combo does resolve. And for the third week, I thought I wanted to mix them up, but I ended up coming to the realization that, yeah, the levels don't really add up. Like, because if this could get stopped, right, and you don't get access to your Bone Archfiend, the Bestials are very underwhelming because what happened is you go, okay, this search Bone Archfiend, Lubelion would search Sornier, right? Or you open Sornier, and then you discard, summon, set up your branded beast, and regain. If all that gets negated, it's a bit troublesome because a 6 and a 3 really don't make anything in this deck. You know, especially if it's not a synchro. Like if you had a synchro, yeah, fair enough. But if it's just a regular effect monster, you can't make hot with that. So that's something I didn't really like. So I ended up just sticking to just a more of a pure build, where it's just basically fundamentally very simplistic. Just have your engine do what it does and be as interactive as possible with a bunch of hand traps. And hopefully that's enough. And it ended up working out. So there was 5 on the Swiss, and then there was top 8. Got knocked out of top 4 versus Purely. Game 1, he bricks. Game 2, he gets Noir. I tried to play through it with a Dark Ruler, but it wasn't enough. And then game 3, I brick. I'm like, oh my god, are you kidding me, bro? You can't. So bad. But anyways, let's get started. Triple Soul Resonator. And this is the biggest difference as well. You have triple Vision, triple Crimson Resonator, and of course, double Synchro Resonator. So by now, you guys should be well aware of what these cards do. If you don't, when this card is summoned, you can add a level 4 lower fiend. If cards you control were to be destroyed while you control by Dragon Archfiend, you can banish this card from your graveyard and protect them. If there's a level 5 or higher dark monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. When it goes to the graveyard, you can add a spell trap that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend in its text. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you control a Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon 2 Resonators from your deck. If there's a Synchro on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this goes to the graveyard, you can add back a Resonator from your graveyard. It's not once per turn. But the reason you max this out is because I wanted to try a particular strategy, which is a bit more conservative. It ended up making a lot more sense than I initially thought. So you have your non-tuners, you have your Bone Archfiend, and of course, you're playing triple Wildwind. All right, so the reason this is important is because this is not a 1-card combo, right? This is a 1.5. Because you need a card to discard, because this will get summoned, this will search him. But you need a card to discard for him, right? So the best thing to discard off of him is getting access to this guy. So you go, summon this, search this, discard this. This will guarantee Crimson Gaia, which ensures constant Resonators turn after turn. But the first search will most likely be in an interaction, whether it be Phoenix Golem or it be Red Zone, right? So summon, search, discard this, special this will search Crimson Gaia, right? So now you're here. Effect, sending this guy, right? And then you try to go for your Red Rising play. And if you open up more copies of this, it's even better for you because, I mean, you can be a bit more resilient, right? So let me try to depict the scenario. Summon, search this, discard this, search Crimson Gaia, special this, send this. Whether they interact with Red Rising, okay, you have more copies of this, special this, go into Scarred, right? So odds are you have, for sure, a guaranteed interaction with Phoenix Golem or your Red Zone. If you have Phoenix Golem, then you can add a Phoenix Chain for the following turn. If you have Red Zone, you can pop a card, plus the amount of interaction you might have had, whether you go in second or first, because it'll vary if you go second or first, right? Because that'll determine what synchro you summon. But if you go in first, you're trying to establish as many interactions as possible, and this allows for that to happen, right? Because you can search your traps. And going second, it makes it a little bit better, because if you go summon this, search this, right? Special, go into a 7, pop a card, you force an interaction, special this, go into Abyss. You still do the same thing where you search your Crimson Gaia, get a guaranteed interaction. And that's what I want to be as consistent as possible. But for the most part, if you don't have access to your 1-card combo, which is Crimson Gaia or basically Crimson Gaia or Full Sparrow, all the other cards are 1.5 or 2-card combos. And the best 2-card combo this deck has is this one and this one, right? Or this one and this one as well. I mean, this is better because this gives you access to the last interaction that you might want. But this isn't half bad either, because you can start your turn with this. Like, going second is what you want your cards to facilitate, right? Because going first, we know what we can do, right? It's like, it's not really an overwhelming push. It's more so like a tempo control with your hand traps and have your minimal sequencing be enough, right? And then gradually out-resource your opponent with your Crimson Gaia and with his effect. You know, it's like you want, and then the fact that you can recur him, like that's how you want to gradually win the game. But it's the fact that you can have that as an option, other than utilizing it for it to go second with this and this, right? So you want more applications where this can be beneficial for you, and that's what I noticed was I can be a bit conservative, where I can go summon special, go into Red Rising, search Crimson Gaia, get one of the traps, revive this with Red Rising, go into Scarred, right? If the Nibiru there, it doesn't matter because you're going to float to your Red Dragon Archfiend anyways. And you got your trap. So even if on that, it's fine. You go pass. You have, whether it be Red Zone or your Phoenix Golem, depending on the matchup, you pick your choose. But then odds are you have like two or three more hand traps with that. So that's 4 interactions. That's more than enough to hinder them. So you can live for the following turn. Because odds are you have your Crimson Guy to search you the Soul Resonator, to then do what you want to do initially the following turn. And of course, you have your Uvu, pretty stable. This is so good. It helps you push the following turn with your Red Zone. Like, if they crack your board, and obviously you have a Bone Archfiend in the graveyard, it'll send this. You go effect, add it back to hand, banish your Dispatter, Red Zone, revive your Dispatter, banish your Hot Red from graveyard, summon this, Dispatter, revive Hot Red. Like, that plays insane. And this is why it's such a high card count deck. You play triple Nib, triple Ash, triple Droll, triple Veiler, triple Imper. This card is pretty insane because at worst case scenario, you stop one search at the worst. But the best case scenario, you stop a lot of searches. Because right now in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, there are searchers that search the card they want. At the very least, if they go Prosperity or something, or they get the searcher and you draw them, they can't get to where they actually want to get, right? And then you have, if you pair that with all these other hand traps, you're going to simplify the game to the point where your minimal sequencing is going to be enough. And that's basically how I've been playing it. And Veiler is surprisingly really good as a top deck, because what happens is, if you come to a point where the game is simplified and you crack your board and you have a Red Dragon Archfiend, you have a few top decks, right? That makes every top deck you have insane. Whether you have Crimson Gaia established or whether you have no Crimson Gaia established, because sometimes you have to get rid of your Crimson Gaia for bone to have the 1.5 card combo, because you don't want to get rid of your hand traps. So what happens is you have like a Red Dragon Archfiend, and then your top decks are insane, because you can top deck your second Synchro Resonator, Crimson Resonator, this, and you can top deck this, because odds are you have Red Dragon Archfiend. You summon this, go into Hot Red, right? Do some damage, get back any of your Resonators from the graveyard. And that was like, oh, that was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Veiler's insane. Because typically, I wasn't really playing because it was a light for Bystials, but like, just having the option of being a good top deck is insane. And then you have your consistency cards. You have your triple Prosperity, triple Resonator, triple Crimson Gaia, and of course, your Foolish Burial. There's nothing much more to say about these cards. This card's amazing. This is the reason why the deck's actually good. Like, this card just keeps you in the game. Like, if this was just like a Resonator call, it wouldn't be as great, because this is what allows you to constantly get things going. Prosperity, this time was the only time it was a bit odd, because like I was drawing multiples on that day. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I kept drawing multiples, like, what the hell? There was a game where I used 2 Prosperities, bro. I was like, what the fuck just happened? I didn't expect to win that game, and I didn't. But like, that was unfortunate. But you just need it. You just need to be able to get to your 1-card combo to get your extended, get your hand trap. Most of the time, you just search your hand trap. Like, what I was doing most of the time was to go like, activate Prosperity, go for a hand trap, have combo anyways. So even if I do get disrupted, I revert to the game plan I initially had, right? Which would mean have 3 or 4 interactions in case this gets stopped. This will be their next turn, Bone will be their next turn, and then hold them off, and then just try to do it the following turn. Like that's basically the game plan. you don't need to play this, but it does come in handy. Like you can afford not to play, I guess. And then crossouts, Call of the Grave. Seeing as how I ended up playing the deck in a particular way, I'm not even sure if I actually need these anymore. Because typically, like, I do a conservative play turn 1, so I don't really play into Nibiru. That's like the main reason you play this, to dodge Nibiru and dodge Droll. It came in handy sometimes, like, it was okay, like, I don't know, I don't know. Like, the first few weeks it was nice, but like, but the way I played the deck this time, these seem kind of redundant. So I might either just cut these all together and bump it down to 46, or just replace these, you know? But I don't know. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. And then of course you have your Red Zone, Phoenix Golem, and Phoenix Chain. Like, these are insane. Like, as I mentioned before, you do the conservative play, and the fact that you have 2 options is pretty nice. The fact that this guy, it just keep adding it back. It's like, what the hell, bro? And then after the fact, like, you use this, right? Because you'll control by Dragon Archfiend. And then you'll set this, right? And then next turn, because most of the time, you want your Crimson Guide to search your traps. You want to leave the Resonator searching for your Wildwind or your Resonator call, or just drawing them themselves. Because, like, you want to be interactive as possible, and the fact that Crimson Guide allows that to happen is pretty insane, right? So what happens is you activate this, you set this, right? It'll be there for next turn, and then it goes to you. You add this back, and now you have 2 of these together that you can pair. This card allows you to grind. This card is insane. Like, these both allow you to stay in the game, which is pretty cool. So that's the main deck. That's 50 cards. And then you have your side deck. You have your triple Book of Eclipse, triple Dark Ruler, double Storm, Harpies, Cosmic, because for Flu, and then evenly matched. It's very, you can have this however you want. This is basically, you know, it's just preference, because the deck is mainly for combo, or like just to not die. So then you need to cover backward decks, and that's what this does. And then of course you have your extra deck. You have your Red Supernova. I've yet to make this. Every single time I have the chance to, I just choose not to, because it's not the right play. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have not made it yet. I made it once out of these 3 locals, which is a lot of rounds. Double Dispatter, double Hot Red Abyss, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, Red Dragon Archfiend OG, Scarlight, Scar. This card's insane. I think one's enough. One is enough. I think you don't need more than one. Void Ogre, Blade Dragon, your utility cards, and of course this card is insane, bro. There was a game where I summoned 3. It was insane, bro. I was trying to play around this particular card. I was playing around Nibiru and playing around Imperm and stuff like that. And the fact that you can do this, I was like, wow, 3 of them, bro. And the Graveyard effect comes up as well, which is why I'm playing double Synchro in there. But that's basically the deck. Now that I understand it a bit better, or in a particular way, I felt like, okay, yeah, this all this flows. You make every single one. Multiple copies helps prosperity, which is pretty cool. Like, most of the time when you banish is you banish. I always banish this guy, and depending on what you prefer versus the matchup, and one of these. But yeah, that's this. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let's subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.